It has been another busy October of purchases with comics and Lego, so stay tuned to find out what I picked up. Hey YouTube, it's Mandak coming at you with another video. So welcome into haul video 172. And I do need to disclose here before I start this video that you might hear my cat again crying, trying to get inside this room because, yeah, I'm currently recording and obviously I can't let her in the room while I'm recording, otherwise she'll jump on everything and stuff. So, but anyways, guys, welcome into haul video 172. As I mentioned, it's been a busy October here, I guess kind of September and October. I know I recently posted a haul video that was pretty long overdue. I think I had that haul video like sitting in my recorded stuff for like a month or so. So just kind of catching up, but yeah, otherwise I've been making a couple purchases. Like I said, this is probably about a month and a half's worth of stuff that I've kind of been slowly accumulating. And I think the highlight of this video for sure is the Lego sales that have been going on here over the course of September and obviously into October. I'll talk more about that as we get into this haul here. But yeah, that's a little bit about what's going on here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these sections of the video, starting as always with the comics. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for tuning into this comic book section for haul video 172. So yeah, I'll kind of talk about where I purchased all the stuff here, but I will say over the last like month or so, it's been pretty light with comic purchases, and subsequently, that has resulted in me being able to get a lot of reading done and obviously close in on my goal for the year. I don't think I'm gonna meet it, unfortunately. My reading goal for this year was, I think, 100 books and 45,000 pages. I think I'm just over 30,000 pages for the year, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to read 15,000 pages in the last like 2.5 months. But nonetheless, really proceeding forward with my overall percentage of my collection read. I'm currently sitting at around 61%. So that's really good. I'm on a pretty good clip there to, again, hopefully finish reading my collection in the next possibly 5 years. But obviously, all these extra purchases I have make it slow it down a lot more. But I will say, in summary, I don't think I'm purchasing nearly as much as what I'm reading, which is obviously the goal there. So with that being said, I will talk a little bit about what I have been reading since the last time I did a video, and it's been a lot. So I guess I'll start off with my Fantastic Four read through. A lot of progress, obviously. The first thing I've read in kind of that order is all these are epic collections, by the way. So I'm pretty much on that track here. I'm nearly done with volume 1 at this point. So the first one I read was Fantastic Four: The More Things Change. So I will say, since I've read all these so long ago now, probably about 2 months ago at this point, I am having a little bit of a hard time recounting exactly what happens in some of these epic collections. But I will say, all this stuff is post John Byrne. So, we're really getting into a phase of Fantastic Four where I feel like the series kind of shifts a lot towards like more of like Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm focus. I will talk a little bit about how as we get into the 90s, it definitely shifts a lot more towards Sue. But yeah, for these first ones here, the More Things Change, we have a lot of stuff around that. And then the next epic collection I read was The Dream is Dead. So again, this kind of harkens back to this like constant recurring theme with the Fantastic Four, especially as we get into the later volumes here, the later years of this run, where the Fantastic Four continue to ask the question, like, is it worth it for us to continue fighting? Because if anything, it's put more and more stress on their lives as, parents and spouses to each other, that was kind of a interesting epic collection to read there. And again, there is the naming of that book was, there is a storyline with that. The Dream is Dead, so that's kind of where they got the name of that epic collection there. And then we get into some epics that I really liked here into the late 80s, early 90s. So next one here I read was Fantastic Four Into the Time Stream. So this one is definitely a highlight, I would say, of the series. This is Walter Simonson, at least for I think the first half of the book, and then it kind of, I think this is the epic where we get a lot of like Infinity Gauntlet or Infinity War tie-in stuff with like the doppelgangers and things like that. Or I might be thinking of the next one, I can't remember. Walter Simonson's writing and art here is definitely the highlight, I think, of this run, or of this epic. He doesn't really stay on the book too long, but there's this really fun storyline with him, or with the Fantastic Four going into the time stream with Iron Man and Thor, and we get really like a nice like sci-fi adventure crossover like storyline with those two Avengers characters, which it makes sense why why he used Thor, because obviously he wrote probably one of the most acclaimed runs on Thor, so I can see why he kind of borrowed that character. And I think at this point, this is the Thor, like the Thor character, and not Eric Masterson, right? That's obviously a different character. But yeah, so that's that was really fun. And then the next epic collection I read was for Fantastic Four was the New Fantastic Four. So this one was fun. We got kind of this storyline where the Fantastic Four were kidnapped. And so the New Fantastic Four groups up, and that is Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk, and Ghost Rider. So that was really fun. We also get this, towards the end of that storyline, we get this event where the New Fantastic Four and the original Fantastic Four kind of get into a scuffle, as the normal superhero trope happens, where like they think that they're trying to kill them, or they think they're imposters, and they try to stop them, and they get into a fight with each other, and then they realize, oh, we're all on the same team, let's not fight each other. But one of the notable things to note, I guess, with that storyline is we get this moment where Wolverine actually slashes the Thing's face, causing him like a lot of damage on his face, like basically like destroying like the top layer of his like hide on his like face. And it's interesting because from that moment on, we see the Thing kind of wearing this like helmet to disguise, or to cover up his face. And I also forgot to mention, and somewhere here, I think it's in the new FF collection, I want to say. But once we get into Tom DeFalco's run, which follows Walter Simonson's run, we get into this moment where we find out that Alicia Masters, Johnny Storm's wife, is actually a Skrull in disguise, and that basically his whole marriage is a sham. Her name is Lyja, I want to say. And yeah, that's the plot twist. It's funny, when I was at a event with one of my friends, we were talking about this, and he didn't want to spoil it for me, but he's like, yeah, something happens with that kind of retcons that whole marriage. And I'm like, oh, that's great. So But unfortunately, the downside to that is that the relationship between Ben and Alicia never really gets put back together, if that makes sense. And then there's also a lot of fallout with stuff related to um, uh, stuff related to I'm trying to remember here, Shannon Ventura, the She thing. A lot of stuff happens with her with that. So yeah, just a lot of moving parts there, and something to just keep in mind in this run here. And obviously, as we go through this moment, there's also some other stuff that comes up that I'll explain here shortly that complicates this whole relationship that Johnny has with Elijah as the scroll that impersonated his wife. So basically, what's revealed is that she replaced Alicia while the Fantastic Four were off on Battle World during the Secret Wars. So then, there's this whole plot line where basically the Fantastic Four and Elijah go back to basically free Alicia from the scrolls that basically took her and replaced her with Elijah. So that I think that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty neat there. And then the next epic I read was This Flame, This Fury. So again, this is more 90s stuff. I know I just read this one recently, but this is the epic where we start to see Malice's persona kind of slowly take over Sue Storm. And this is again where I kind of mentioned earlier where the book really starts to shift towards her in a lot of ways. Obviously, we have all the stuff going on in the background with Johnny and Elijah, and one point of note with Elijah and Johnny's plotline is that I think at this point, or it might be in the next epic, I can't remember, but she reveals to him that she's pregnant, which Johnny obviously assumes that he's the father, right? So there's that piece. That's a little complicated there, right? But yeah, so Sue Storm, this is where this epic collection, This Flame, This Fury, is the first epic where we see her kind of reveal her new outfit that has the 4 with the little cut open in the middle there, and obviously a very controversial outfit, and even commented on in the book itself by some of the people in the books. Comment on her change in appearance, and obviously the associated changing character for her. So I thought that was interesting to see that. And then the last one here, last epic collection I read was FF, or Fantastic Four, Nobody Gets Out Alive. So another main point that happens in this book, and I don't know if it happened towards the tail end of This Flame, This Fury, or in this book itself, but there is a plot line where Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four run into each other in Latveria, and Doctor Doom basically ends up killing himself, and in the process ends up killing and vaporizing Reed Richards. So yeah, Reed Richards has been dead, or thought to have been dead, for this entire epic pretty much, and this entire epic is centered around this whole plot line with Franklin Richards, because he gets stolen into the time stream by Nathaniel Richards, who is Reed Richards' father. Franklin gets brought back as a teenager. So then there's all this stuff with Sue kind of denying the fact that that's his son, that's her son, and then obviously Reed being dead complicates things, and she's constantly on this quest to find him, right? She doesn't want to admit that he's dead. So I think that's a really good undergoing plot thread. But then there's just some weird stuff that happens at the end of this epic that kind of makes me scratch my head, where we get into this event where the Watcher shows up, and then he pulls the Fantastic Four back to the events of their first encounter with Galactus, and instead of Johnny going to get the ultimate nullifier, it was Reed, and then that basically caused Reed to go mad because he didn't get back in time because he got distracted with all the technology on Galactus's ship. And so that resulted in his versions of the Fantastic Four dying. Like they weren't able to stop Galactus in time. But then the current ones get zapped back into reality, and then they fight the Dark Raider, who turns out to be Reed Richards, and then the Watcher kills him. So like me just sitting here explaining it to you just shows how convoluted this is. Um, but as of that Epic Collection, Reed is still dead or missing or whatever, right? That version of him is no longer around. And I'm currently reading the next one after this, Atlantis Rising, and then I have one more after that. But yeah, you know, Nathaniel and Sue are both trying to find Reed, and obviously they're not really succeeding. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how this will end. Right, I only have 2 epics left to read until the conclusion of this first volume of Fantastic Four. So I'm really curious to see how that goes. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, that was my Fantastic Four stuff. 14 minutes later, that's my little recap of what I've been reading so far for that run. Some other things I read too. I took some breaks. I read some stuff, some graphic novels I kind of sprinkled in here. I read 1984, the graphic novel. So I read that not growing up, and I read that book by George Orwell in high school, 11th grade English class. So I remember reading that in that class, really enjoying that book. So obviously once I had the chance to get the graphic novel, I wanted to read it. The graphic novel was very much a slog. The art was not really that good, and it was very, very wordy, almost like I was actually reading the book itself. So I actually ended up selling that back to Second and Charles. The next book I read here too was Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. So I never read that book in high school, but I know some people read it for like their research papers for senior year of high school. So I gave that a read. I enjoyed that one a lot more. Obviously, it's a war story, you know, kind of just talking about the horrors of war and just how, you know, through one person's experience, how that is perceived. So obviously, I'm probably not doing the book enough justice. It's just been a while since I've read it, so I can't really remember much of what happens. And then I read some short runs that I've been having on my shelves for a while, and I just wanted to get them knocked out. So the first one I read was Black Hood. So this one was very, very fun to read. It was a very quick read. I read it when I was traveling for work in Canada. So pretty much knocked that whole series out really quickly. It was a really fun read, very straightforward. It's basically about a cop that gets framed for the first kind of run is him being framed for pushing drugs. So he obviously and he takes on the mantle of Black Hood after a vigilante named Black Hood is killed. And what I do like is that this whole run is centered in Philadelphia. Obviously, I'm a big Philadelphia sports fan. I live a couple hours away from Philadelphia, so very much identify with a lot of the things that he kind of mentioned in the comic. There's actually one moment in the comic where he's eating at Reading Terminal Market at the Knicks with his partner, which is funny because I actually go there whenever my friends and I go to a comic convention. We'll stop at the Knicks and get the roast pork sandwich, and that's what he ate. So I thought that was really a fun similarity there, just something that to Easter egg to kind of enjoy with that book. But yeah, I would recommend reading it. It's one of those books, series I'm definitely going to keep on my shelf. I don't plan on selling it because I thought it was really that good. And I got all those volumes at a Ollie's for maybe $10 combined. So a really great pickup if you can find those for cheap. And then the last kind of series I read here was Archie. So I realized I'm actually missing a couple volumes, so I probably shouldn't have started it until I had everything, but nonetheless, I read the first 4 volumes of Mark Waid's Archie run, so I'll probably just have the volumes going on here as I talk about it briefly. But yeah, this is my first exposure to Archie. My wife used to watch the Riverdale show. So like I would, as I read the book, I kind of brought up some things to her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like that happened in the show," or "I know that character." So, but yeah, I mean, it's Mark Waid. Kind of sad that Fiona Staples didn't stay on as long as she could have. I'm assuming she probably had, um, other priorities like Saga. So that's kind of understandable, right? But yeah, I really thought it was fun. It's definitely one of those books where like I feel like you don't really have to pay too much attention to what's going on. It's very lighthearted, but there is something that happens at the end of the fourth or the third or fourth book that is pretty dramatic and kind of shifts the tone of the entire book, in my opinion. Not for the worse, just something that kind of makes you go back and say, "Oh shit, like that actually happened." I won't spoil it for anyone here wants to read the story for themselves. Not kind of like I didn't do for the Fantastic Four stuff I just explained, but yeah. So I think it's funny, like going into Christmas here. My wife asked me to make a wish list of kind of things that I would want for either my birthday or Christmas, and I put those volumes 5 and 6 of that series on my wish list. So if I don't get them, I'll probably end up just buying them myself, or trying to see if I can find them somewhere at a Second and Charles for cheap. Because I think right now they're going for like $10 each online, which is way too much money for me to spend on a trade. But yeah, I do want to finish the series. I don't think I'm really in a rush to. So like I said, I'll just be on the lookout for them in stores here. But actually, I will cut this video right here, and then we'll pick up for the haul in another video. So stay tuned for that. All right, so let's get into the haul section here for this part of the video for the comics. So yeah, what I've been reading here, late section later. Yeah, we'll go into this here. So as I showed on the thumbnail here, I went to a wedding for one of my friends from college. I guess 2 of my friends from college. And then while I was there, my one friend, I guess, stopped at a comic book store while he was there, and he picked up this book for me. So this is just like a little, like, I guess, ad comic from BGE and Exelon Company. But it has Iron Man, so I thought that was cool. I actually already read this in the car. We were driving back. Yeah, it's a pretty quick read. There's only like, I think like 10 or 15 pages in here, so it's not a full book, but still kind of cool to pick that up. So shout out to Vince. Thanks for picking that up for me. All right, next book I got here was another volume of My Hero Academia. So this is the second to last volume that I need to complete my series for My Hero. So yeah, all these are pretty much the same at this point. I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, this is definitely a series that I intend to read one day. I think once I get the last volume, I'm probably gonna go and start reading it. I think I've already talked about it on this haul or on this channel already, but going into 2026, I do have a couple of kind of read-throughs that I'm planning on doing. Obviously, Star Wars is one that I'm going to be doing because of Mandalorian and Grogu. I have the Avengers stuff that I'm looking to trying to finish off and read. So I've read a lot of the first volume of Avengers, but I'm planning to finish all that off and then read through to like Hickman and all that other stuff. So that's going to probably take me a pretty long time. I would say probably longer than Fantastic Four, but we'll see. Fingers crossed on that one. So yeah, but the point I was trying to make is hopefully I can maybe sprinkle in like a manga like My Hero into this, because these volumes, like I can read one of these probably a day easily. They're very quick reads. Not a lot of dialogue and words in here, which makes for a very quick read, and again, I can get through those pretty quickly. So yeah, so the next book here I picked up, went to Ohio last week for work. And while I was traveling, I like to pick a place to stop for lunch that like I can kind of walk around, stretch my legs. I drove about 7.5 hours there and 7.5 hours back, so had to take a couple of breaks just to make sure I was using the bathroom and just stretching my legs, like I said, because as you get older, you get like sciatica and just all this other stuff. Like just a little bit of pain in your leg as you're driving, right? So, but yeah, so I picked this place where I could have lunch, and then there was an Ollie's nearby, so naturally I had to poke in there, see if I could get lucky and find some discounted books, comic books, graphic novels for cheap. And found this one. This wasn't on my radar at all, but definitely was intrigued because R.L. Stine is one of my favorite writers. I grew up reading all the Goosebumps books in elementary school and middle school. So wanted to grab this one. This is called The Stuff of Nightmares. This is by Boom Studios, so 4-issue little series here. I really like the art in here. I think the art and coloring is really nice. Don't really know too much about the series, but yeah, we'll give this a read. It's perfect timing, right? Because we're in spooky season right now, so might bump this up higher up on the list to read here as we're in the October month here, and I'm always about timing out stuff and my reads for movies and times of the year and just things like that. So yeah, really cool to get this for a cheap price, only $4. So can't really beat that price there. And then the rest of the stuff here I got was from a visit I took to the Second and Charles that recently opened in York, Pennsylvania. So at the time of this recording, this store opened last Friday. So just some background on this store, right? So this used to be a Books A Million. It's actually located pretty close to a couple of the plants that for the company that I work for. So I can't tell you how many times I used to go out and visit those plants, and then on my way back home after working there for the day, I would stop at the Books A Million and just see if I could find like a graphic novel or something cheap, right? As my cat sticks her paw through the door. But, obviously throughout the years, and I think I've talked about this on the channel, Books A Million has always had problems with like discounting books. Almost everything in their stores was full price. And what I've also found out throughout the years is that Books A Million and Second and Charles are both owned by the same company. So I want to say about 6 months or so ago, my friend told us about how they were planning to convert this Books A Million into a Second and Charles. So that was great for me because obviously Second and Charles is a lot nicer store for me to shop at because a lot of stuff is discounted. And it's funny, actually, as I was shopping at this store, I actually got some tea that I'll share with you guys regarding the store and just regarding the plans of the company as a whole, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, so the first thing I found out was about 70% of the books in Second and Charles are resold books, right? Secondhand books or other material, which shouldn't surprise anybody because that's really the appeal of the store, is that you can buy stuff for a lot cheaper at this store. So that was really cool. And then apparently, because I heard all this stuff because I was in an area where I was shopping and they were actually interviewing for seasonal positions as well out in the store. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But I heard one of the managers say that they're looking to actually open 5 more Second and Charles stores in Pennsylvania. So my hunch is that they're probably going to convert some other existing Books A Million stores into Second and Charles, just like they did with this York store, which I think would be great because I can think of a couple other Books A Millions that are near here that probably would be retrofitted into that. And I think it's a good business decision. I think a lot more people are gravitating towards Second and Charles than a Books A Million per se. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that turns out. Obviously I would love to have one that's a little bit closer to me than 50 minutes. Um, so yeah, that's the goal, and hopefully that will happen. But again, I kind of live out here in the woods where there's not really a lot of like, uh, I guess a lot of draw to put one in this area, but who knows, right? So, but yeah, with that being said, though, I did pick up all these books at that store. I did have a coupon that I used for my birthday, which was 25% off. So I used that. Um, and yeah, just got some really good deals on this. So I'll start off with the first book here, and that is the first volume of the Old Republic Epic Collection. Um, so I've had this on my, you know, I've had this on my list for a while, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these Star Wars epics that I'm missing are out of print. So I'm very confident that Marvel and Star Wars will start to reprint some of these books, so that way I can fill in some of these gaps. And this is obviously one gap that I've really have put off filling, I guess. So this will be really nice to have in my collection, and obviously do for my read through. So this collects Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, numbers 1 through 18, and material from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic / Rebellion number 0. So again, Dark Horse stuff. Really crazy that they could just get away with shamelessly republishing Dark Horse material and making a lot of money off of it. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I don't really know too much about this series, but I'm really excited to find out. I also picked up volume 2. So they have both of these just kind of sitting there on the bottom shelf, and I grabbed them. Both of them were really fairly priced. This was $15 and this was $17. So 2 epics for $30. You really can't go wrong there. This collects issues 19 through 37 of Knights of the Old Republic, and then Knights of the Old Republic Handbook. So yeah. So I don't know how many of these epics they made for Knights of the Old Republic. But I'm definitely hoping to maybe find some more. Like I said, I'm not in a crazy rush to find them. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to read about kind of this era that's kind of been a blind spot for me as a fan. You know, just the Old Republic stuff, like thousands of years before the events of the movies, obviously. And I will tell you, I did try watching Acolyte. My wife and I sat down and I think gave it at least 3 episodes. And we were so bored out of our minds and we were just not into it. And we just never finished it. So, I mean, that's kind of the current state of Star Wars media at this point. I'm really hopeful that Mandalorian and Grogu will kind of help save that and bring Star Wars back to the silver screen, will help with that. But who knows, right? I'm very content just watching the original 6 films and just calling it a day. That's kind of like my lore, but obviously I'm very excited to read the epics too and just consume more Star Wars content. All right. Another book I picked up here, and I picked this up because it was a pretty decent price, and I've been waiting forever to get this second volume because Dark Horse, man, they've been dragging their feet on this for so long, and that is the second omnibus of Stranger Things. So I bought the first one, I want to say back in like 22 or early 23, and I don't know why it took them so long to make the second one, because this material had already been collected in trades, and it was a paperback. Like, I don't know what takes so long to make that, right? So, yeah, this collects a couple of stories, like The Voyage, the Kamchatka, and the Tomb of Yebwen. I don't know if I butchered those, but yeah, really, really nice collection here. I would say this is probably the same page count as like an epic, and it's $30, but obviously I got 25% off of it, so I paid around what, like $23, $22 for it. So yeah, really nice to get this. This is a book that, like, I normally probably wouldn't pay full price for, but I mean, come on, it's $30 cover price already. I think that's a pretty fair price already for this, so I wanted to pick that up, put that in the collection there. That's another series that I might need to read here soon, because we have the Stranger Things final season coming up here at the end of December. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, my wife and I, we were talking about rewatching all the the seasons because it's been so damn long since we watched the last one. It's been, what, 3 years now? Over 3 years? So, yeah, definitely forgot a lot about what happens. All right. And then the last book I got here, again, another book I kind of sprang for, mostly because of the team here. And that is Middle West, The Complete Tale. So I got this nice thick hardcover here for only $18, and this is the entire series. This is 18 issues of Middle West. I hope I didn't say Midwest. Sorry, I meant to say Middle West. But yeah, really, really fun here. I probably should have showed some art on the last book I did, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Skottie Young's doing the art, and Jorge Corona is the writer. So, but yeah, I really love Skottie Young. His art's amazing. So, really excited to read this, and hopefully the writing will be good. I'm assuming it was pretty good if they made a hardcover of it. So yeah, really excited to get this for a really nice price, $18 for basically $1 an issue for a hardcover. I mean, I thought that was a pretty insane price in my opinion. So wanted to grab that. But anyways, that is my comic section. So yeah, the next section is probably even longer because boy, do I have a lot of Lego to show you guys. So let's go ahead and get into that section of the video. All right, guys, so thank you so much for tuning into the Lego section here for this whole video. So before I get into the Lego stuff, I do have some other things kind of not obviously Lego related that I decided, I guess, to slide into this section here because I don't really know where else to put them. So as I mentioned earlier, I did go to Second Charles, and while I was there, I know they sell a bunch of used video games. So one of the things I kind of gravitated to and wanted to grab was MLB 2K11 for the DS. So a little story with this. I do have this version of the game for the Wii, and I used to love playing it, and I might even try to play it a little bit more now that I've realized that I like it. But secondly, obviously Roy Halladay's on the cover here, so obviously I'm a big fan of the Phillies, and I grew up with this team. It's really a shame that they couldn't win a World Series with Roy Halladay, and even more tragic with his passing in 2017. I still remember where I was when I found out. I was working at a couple jobs ago, and I remember looking at my notification and I thought it was fake. But nonetheless, just wanted to have another game to play with on my DS, kind of, if I'm traveling, it's a lot easier to play on a handheld. But yeah, that was really cool. I did try it a little bit yesterday. It is a little hard, but I'm trying to figure it out. So fingers crossed there with that. All right. And then another thing here, again, not Lego related, but still toy related. So I think I showed it last haul. I bought one of my first, my very first Black Series Star Wars figure, which was the Darth Vader from A New Hope. Picked that up because it was super cheap at a store that I went to. And sure enough, I was at Walmart one night with my wife and was walking around. They had some Black Series on clearance. And sure enough, I bought this guy for $13. So really can't beat that price. So really cool to get the Mandalorian. Obviously, as I talked about earlier, really hyped for the movie that's going to come out next year. But even better to get the Mandalorian, the Mines of Mandalore version here in Black Series for a really cheap price. I think these usually they start like $25. So to get it for like half off is actually pretty insane in my opinion. But yeah, I really love this. Definitely don't anticipate taking this out of the wrapping either. I think, because another thing I just realized too, like the back really has like a nice little like summary there, which I think is kind of cool. But otherwise, yeah, I'll definitely keep this sealed as well. I really hope this is not the start of a Black Series addiction. I don't think it is. Like I don't really spring for figures. Like I don't have like an incessant need to collect all of like a certain like series of Black Series as I do with like Lego, which I'm still working on. I'm trying to make sure I'm trying to just pick and choose certain things and not get very you know, what's the word, you know, just, you know, rush of the moment type of thing, right? I'm trying to be more selective with what I purchase from Lego. So with that being said, I will go over some stuff here. So I think I talked about it on my last haul video, but I was able to pick up the Lego minifigures for Spider-Verse. So I'm just going to show one here, but I will tell you, I was able to get the entire series. So I use this one app, I think it's called Minifig Scan, which allowed me to scan the boxes and determine which ones were the ones I needed to complete the set. So 2 months later, I have finally collected all of the minifigures. So I had to purchase a little bit more because like, so the way this worked out, right? So I went to my local Walmart, and I think I mentioned this last whole video, but like they keep all the Lego behind the glass, including these minifig packs. So I had to have someone come over and basically open the case for me. So I wasn't obviously going to sit there and scan it while the guy was waiting for me, right? So the only thing I could do was take the stock they had and basically take it home, or purchase it and take it home and scan and see which ones are which. Now, the real question remains now is what do I do with the rest of the figures that I have in my collection, right? I think for right now, like, obviously I think I have 30 days to think about it, right? Because of Walmart's return policy. But personally for me, I think that this is really an investment. Like I do want to say here, right? Like I don't do this a lot with Lego. Like I don't buy out stock of something like just to intentionally like keep it away from people. I did this because like this was the only legitimate thing I could do, right? Other than buying minifigures and, you know. So I think for right now, I'm going to keep them because I do see them as an investment to resell later down the line. And like I said, I'm not in the game of reselling. That's not my permanent job. It's more so just a hobby, something I want to try to get in on, but not obviously devote too much of my time or money into it. But I think for something like this, I think it's pretty well worth the investment because, you know, I will say this is the first time I've seen these packs in a store in a month and a half. So, I mean, that just tells you how popular they are. And if I know these minifigure packs like I've known other ones in the past, they're not going to stay in stores probably for like another, they might be out of stores by the new year. I think that's legitimately when they're probably going to go away. Like these minifigure packs, they don't stay in stores too long. Like they're not like regular Lego sets where they just stay on shelves for like, you know, a year and a half. Like these minifigure packs come in and go within a season. So I definitely see them, you know, obviously with the holiday season coming up, they're probably going to sell like hotcakes if you can even find them, and then they're just going to run out of stock. So I really just wanted to make sure I got my chance to get them while I can. And yeah, so, but yeah, I will probably just be showing a case. I'm going to get a case for all these and probably display them nicely. But yeah, really, really cool to get these. That being said, if you are like, you know, if you are interested or if you need one to complete a set or you need something, you can always reach out to me. You know, we can talk about prices. You know, I have a bunch of duplicates that I'm willing to sell, you know, for what I pay for them. So, you know, if you're into that, you know, just let me know and we can set something up. So, there's that as well. All right. So that being said, I did also, when I was at Second and Charles, I also found some poly bags that I wanted to pick up. So I picked up this Harry Potter one, which I thought was pretty cool. This is from the first movie. So I like this for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the Harry Potter minifigure is nice. That little statue is pretty cool as well. The little container that he used for like the Quidditch set, and then obviously the snitch. Thought that's a really cool piece there. I don't think I've ever collected that before, so that's really cool they actually have one in this set. So I purchased two, one to keep sealed and one to open. So we'll do that. All right. Some other smaller sets I got. And again, like I said before, with Lego sets, it's always about timing when they're going to retire. So grabbed some of these mechs that I kind of had on my list for a little bit. So this is the Iron Man mech. I think I wanted to pick this up because of the Ultron fig, but also I think that Iron Man fig is new, I want to say. Could be wrong, but I don't think I have had that figure in a set before. I might be wrong, but regardless, really cool. Iron Man's obviously my favorite Marvel character, so really nice to get that. And this one, I was really pissed because I bought this full price at Target, and then the next week it got discounted down to like $8, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And that is the Superman mech. So I wanted to get this one because if you're a Lego fan, you will know that DC Lego sets have basically been dominated entirely by Batman. This is the first Superman figure we've gotten in, God, I don't know how many years. And obviously Lex Luthor's minifigure is also pretty cool here too. I think they just recycled his face, but the figure itself is a pretty nice figure there with the kryptonite. But yeah, really wanted to get this for those two figures, and obviously the reason they made this set was because of the movie coming out. Unfortunately, they didn't make any sets around the movie, which boggles my mind. I don't know why. I'm convinced that the budget for DC Lego sets is just so small that like they only get a certain amount of sets to release each year for it. But I really hope this really isn't much of a hope, but I really hope that the sales of this set will maybe fuel some more other characters being produced for Lego DC. Please, like, I think we're all tired and burnt out on Batman stuff at this point, but they just keep making more of it, so I don't know. I guess it's kind of very symbolic of like the comics themselves too, because there's a lot of Batman. Like Batman pretty much dominates DC comics right now, or I don't know, I could be wrong, but from what I've heard from my friends, like a lot of Batman titles exist now in the comics too, so it doesn't surprise me that Lego follows suit with that. But yeah. All right, the next three sets here I got were actually part of a bundle that Walmart was doing, and they've been bundling a couple sets. So I think I mentioned this before because I did pick up another bundle earlier in my last haul video. But definitely encourage you, if you haven't already, to go onto Walmart's app or website and see if you can find some of these bundles. They're pretty good deals, and honestly, if you're looking for someone for Christmas, for a kid or your nephew or niece, some really great deals going on right now with Lego and some of the bundles that they have. And actually, I think, yeah, I actually have two bundles of stuff here that I got from Walmart that I'll show here shortly. So the first one was a bunch of Lego Creator 3-in-1 sets I wanted to grab. And the reason why I got these was I'm looking to create like a separate display with like all of my plant and like animal sets down in the basement to kind of display. So that's kind of a work in progress. I still haven't really gotten the shelf space. I do want to buy like a separate like ladder shelf for them to kind of make them stand out. But more to come on that, I guess, in the future. But picked up these because these were all $60 combined, which I thought was a good deal. So the first one here I got was the Tropical Toucan. So really nice build there. Pretty sizable in my opinion. So really excited to build this one here and add that downstairs with the rest of the animals in that area. Because, you know, like when I talk about animals, I'm talking about like the insect collection, the kingfisher bird, you know, just some other animals sets that I've purchased over the years that I kind of want to put with the plants. I think that's a really nice synergy, you know, all the different plant sets that I have too, because I'm quickly running out of space for the plants as well. So I kind of want to make them, give them their own space to breathe, if that makes sense. All right. Next set I got here was the pink flamingo set. So I really like the part usage on this. Obviously the colors here are really nice to see. But yeah, I really like some of the other alternate builds you get with this set. I don't really get to see this that much when I'm looking at the product on the website, but yeah, I think those are really cool alternate builds there. I think Lego has gotten really good recently with like the alternate builds for some of these sets. Like they're not as shitty as they used to be. Like there was usually one build that kind of stood apart from the rest of them as like, okay, this is the one that they designed this whole thing around. But and the other two were kind of like, I guess I can kind of see it. But these two both look really nice. I think that's like kind of supposed to be like a cockatiel or something like that. Um, but anyways, really nice. And I love that they include like a little display for the flamingo itself. So yeah, really cool to get that one as well. And then the last one I got here was the Creator 3-in-1 Panda family. So again, this one's really good. Lego's really knocking this out of the park, you know, with such minimal part usage here. There were, I guess, 620 pieces. 26 pieces isn't minimal, but you know, this set was floating around 30 bucks. I think like when you work out the pricing for each of these, I think this one kind of worked out to about $30 in the bundle. But for 626 pieces, you get two really great builds. I think this will go perfect with the bamboo plant, obviously, because there's bamboo in this set too. But you know, you get a penguin. You also get the killer whale. So just some great options here for rebuilding in the future potentially. But yeah, these are really, really fun builds. I really like these Creator 3-in-1 sets. You know, I like, I mean, because another thing I like about them too is that you get a lot of parts for what you pay for, right? So they're usually not as expensive compared to like the licensed sets, right? And they almost always go on a really nice sale at some point. So yeah, I think these ones were on shelves for a little bit, so that's why I wanted to grab them. There's some other Creator 3-in-1 sets that I really like. Like there's like a typewriter, there's like a record player. I kind of want to get that record player at some point because we do have a record player in our house, and I would love to put that like next to it as like a little like fun thing to like put next to it, right? But I think that one's still kind of going for full price, so I might wait for a sale for that one. But just some, I like those like fun like not gonna lie, like Lego Creator 3-in-1 is really cooking recently with these last couple of years. They've been making some really nice sets that like I think like when I think about it, right, I see it as appealing to just more than just me as like the crazy avid Lego fan. Like these sets are really starting to appeal to people who like maybe want something like small for their desk, right? Or something for their living room, right? Just a complimentary little display piece, right? So I think that's really I think where they're gonna make a lot of their bang for their buck is just trying to appeal to a larger audience of people who are trying to get into the hobby. So yeah. All right. The next bundle of sets here I got were 3 sets that I really wanted to get, and just could not stomach the full price of all 3 of these. I think full price for these was like over $230 or something like that. But sure enough, I waited, and I'm pretty sure all 3 of these sets are retiring this year. I could be wrong, but hence the reason why Walmart bundled them together and discounted them for over 30% off. So I had to jump on them because these were 3 sets that I really wanted to get. And they're all Harry Potter sets. And one thing I mentioned this to my wife, but for Harry Potter, right, I'm not really one of those people that goes for like all the smaller sets to build like the modular Hogwarts or anything like that, because that to me just seems like an endless struggle to try to find space for buildings. So I normally go for like more of like the bigger like premiere sets that like, you know, like bigger interpretations of different items or different things in the Harry Potter universe. And that's pretty much what these 3 are. So I'll start with the one that, you know, the first one here, and that is the Mandrake from the Chamber of Secrets. So again, this set, I think when it originally retailed was like $60, which I thought was insane. For no minifigs and just like a planted set, right? But yeah, waited and got this one. Really nice to have this. Can't wait to build this. It actually comes with a full body as well, so you can actually pull it out and of the pot, and it, you know, it looks very nice. So I'm really excited to build this.